Welcome everyone to another episode of the Data Playbook podcast. In this podcast, we talk to data leaders and data practitioners about how to build a playbook for data leaders to get more value from data. It's a special episode today because we're at the POA Summit in Stuttgart. The POA Summit is the Data Product Oriented Architectures Summit. It's a 2-day summit to talk about data products, basically. And I'm very happy to have with me one of the keynote speakers of the summit, Simon Harrer. Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I think a lot of people already know you because you're quite well known in the community, in the data community. But for those who don't know you yet, can you introduce yourself? You told me before we started recording the podcast that you have a link here with Stuttgart. You used to be a software engineer here. So what's the journey from a software engineer in Stuttgart to a data person?
Thank you. Happy to elaborate. So I'm a software engineer at heart. And like 5 years back, I was very happy doing software engineering. One of my projects was here in Stuttgart at Bräuninger, where I was part of a DevOps team. We did everything what you can do in a cool way, cool software engineering. We even did mob programming, trunk-based development, had on-call duty, and the full program.
Awesome.
And then something happened that has never happened in my life before. Our backlog went dry.
Okay.
And we didn't have anything to do. At the same time, people there said, hey, we have this new data platform, Google BigQuery. Do you want to try it out? So we had time and an opportunity. And so we moved all our data from our production systems into BigQuery and started doing analytics. And that's basically how we became a data-driven product team by the books.
Yeah.
And for me, that was really eye-opening because this changed how I created software. Because everything I could now challenge with data, every feature request, every idea from some stakeholder somewhere, we could check, well, is it worth it pursuing it? And that kind of changed my perspective. And when you put it differently, basically we were a small domain team within the data mesh paradigm. We used BigQuery as our self-service data platform. We had our own data. We analyzed that. We were alone in that sense, and we didn't had other teams, so we didn't really share data products. But you get the idea. So it was like a nucleus of a data mesh, so to say.
Awesome.
And that's kind of how I said, well, the data mesh or data in general, data products and all these things, this is cool. I want to pursue that. There's innovation. There's interesting stuff to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, let's go. And I had a partner in crime, Jochen Christ. And so we said, let's go out. And we did a lot of stuff there. We translated the data mesh book from English to German. We created data mesh architecture with our perspective on data mesh. There's also data product canvas. You can try out to sketch what is a data product for you. So that's kind of how I ended in the data world, and it never let me go. So I'm still there.
and so, but it's been quite a journey from that, let's say, experimentation mode in BigQuery and doing like your first data products to where you are now. Because recently you announced you founded Entropy Data together with Jochen Christ. It's a spin-off from InnoQ. What's the story behind the company? What does it do? And why did you spin off from the... And what is InnoQ? Maybe for the people who don't know InnoQ. Yeah.
So InnoQ is a consultancy company, mostly seniors, like 80% senior stuff, so no pyramid. And it's focused on software architecture and software engineering. That's the strength. I was at InnoQ while I did the Bräuninger project, and afterwards I went into the data world, and we weren't too many people there, but we all still started a lot of consultancy projects, and we realized in these consultancy projects that there is a need for managing your data products.
Yeah,
and we were at a consultancy project at a large logistics company, and they had their data products in Confluence. So each data product had their own Confluence page and their little index page. And they basically...
Which is fine if you have 5 data products, right?
True. It does not scale, and it's hard to automate. Exactly. So you can do everything with Confluence, but at some point the fun starts to deteriorate a little bit.
Yes, it becomes toil.
and that's kind of where they wanted to build a solution to manage it much better, to automate around it. And basically we said, hey, we are actually software engineers. We could build that for you and you become our pilot customer.
Yeah.
And that's the story how our product came into being, the Data Mesh Manager. And then we built that. They are now in production for 2 years. I'm very happy with it. And we did marketing. We got more customers in Australia, Denmark, France, Germany, and so on. But we realized at some point the product business and consulting business does not match.
How so? Because, well, as you know, we also run a consulting and product business.
Yeah.
So I definitely have opinions about that. But I'm curious, what to you are the struggles if you're consulting and you try to mix it with product?
Yeah. So our product is a data marketplace based on data products and data contracts. And our clients are typically multi-billion-dollar revenue companies. Mm-hmm. And they have need high guarantees when they buy the SaaS service from us or the self-hosted version. They need certifications. The consultancy didn't have any certification and didn't want to do a certification for the whole company. So that was one thing. The other thing is we want to, it's about partnering. Yeah? When you have a product, you want to find a lot of consultancies that help you sell that product, especially in the B2B market where our product is consultancy heavy. So you need to know how to use it to really make use of it. And without consultancy, it's you have to be really prepared. Yeah. We talked with a lot, also with the big ones, and they also approached us. We even had a few of ideas and trials to work together, but it was always complicated because at some point, someone from those big consultancy companies says, well, this is another consultancy company. Yeah. We do not share clients. And then that's basically stopped.
I do have the same experience when two consultancies talk. They might have the best intentions, right? But they're always polite with each other and let's collaborate. But then when there's actually a transaction on the table, a deal being shaped, it's you see that you're competitors again, right? And that sometimes makes it difficult. I understand that. So you were at InnoQ. You saw this friction between consulting and product. And then you decided to spin off. How did that journey go?
We have an employee innovation program, and the idea was from the beginning to spin off at some point.
Okay.
So it's basically after that project at Bräuninger, we made an internal agreement basically, and then so the target was there, but we wanted to spin off when it's self-sustainable. Yeah. And so we basically waited for that point. And have spinned off now, started in August this year, August 2025.
That's very
so
fresh.
Very recently,
congratulations.
Looking at the clock, 1 month ago almost.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's an interesting backstory. Well, of course, we're here at the Data Product Oriented Architecture Summit. So I'm going to start with a very obvious question, a cliche one, if you will. But what, according to you, is a data product?
Yeah, well, to be honest, how much time do you have? But the good thing is we are just two people here, so only three opinions probably. That's really tough. It's really tough. In generally, there are two ideas of what a data product is. I'm in the camp of being basically like coming from more of the microservice systems or architecture perspective. So a data product is not just the interface to my customer or consumer, which is the data and the guarantees I give, but also the pipeline that produces the code that produces the data where the guarantees are given. I typically try to say a data product is like a box.
Yeah.
And it has offerings like output ports, like concrete specific data sets others can use.
And you mean physical tables in databases?
Yes,
That's
like physical,
port.
I can go there, I can through some way, some access method, and these are my output ports.
Yeah.
And then the data product can use other data, basically through their import ports, and use other output ports or other APIs from other systems to connect. But in that box is the pipeline.
Yeah.
And pipeline is part of that box. But it's when I look just at the box, it's like a black box. I can look at the black box and just at the interfaces. That's fine. And if I implement it, I need to go inside and I have to build the pipeline. But it's typically, for most people, the pipeline is not relevant because it's just an implementation detail.
But it is, according to you, it is part of the data product.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it brings me to another question, because you said, you come from the software world, microservices, and a data product, you map it a bit. Maybe an even dumber question than what is a data product. Why do we even need data products in the first place? Why can't we do everything in a single big monolithic data warehouse?
One question is, of course, the organizational approach. You have the big companies have many teams, and you have to coordinate that organizational problem, so to say. And we do that more in forming small teams. They have their own responsibilities, so they can move fast in their own space through isolation. So if you add coordination, everything slows down. So do you want to, is it a question targeted in that direction? Or?
Yeah, well, it's a question I'm asking because we also often get that question. So I'm curious how you look at this. I fully agree with you. I'm a big fan of data products. I said it a million times. I'll say it again. I think the monolithic data warehouses are a thing from the 80s, just like how we built monolithic software systems. It comes from an era where we thought we can capture everything in a single system and you can manage that complexity with a single team and it can do everything you want. And that's a myth, right?
Yeah, it's always about bottlenecks, to be honest. And in larger companies where the organizational bottleneck, where's the domain knowledge, that's the bottleneck. Who has really knowledge about the data, not just knowledge about data technology. I think that's a key part as well.
Yeah, that's even besides the organizational part. I think sometimes companies underestimate or overestimate how much the data team knows about the data. Because if you're a central data team, you know all the data technologies, BigQuery and Terraform and automation, all of the nice stuff. But you don't necessarily understand CRM data, ERP data, website transaction data, like all of that. That knowledge is spread in the domains, right? And the pushback we sometimes get, and I wonder if you get the same, it's like, yeah, that might be true, but if every domain makes their own data products, then we might get different definitions of what is a customer or what is a product, and we want a single version of the truth, and that you can find in a central data warehouse.
Yeah, but sometimes it's okay to have different, because there's no real, could be a different perspective on a customer, from domain-driven design. In the software world, this is totally understood now that different systems have different perspectives of what something is.
Yeah, I love, because I fully agree, but
if in the data world, at some point you need to combine them or make a definition of a customer that's usable by a lot, and that's also a valid point. But this is an investment.
Yeah,
I see that really as an investment. In the data mesh book, there would be like an aggregate data product, so to say. No, it's the customer in the company, meaning the paying customer on the outside, with key facts gathered from different systems, and that's really valuable.
Yeah,
you can build a lot on that, but again, building that data product is an investment decision.
I see.
Yeah. And I would phrase it like that. Because it enables so much on top.
So you would say, you would recommend, well, you can build those single versions of the truth for the entities in your organization that you think are worthwhile to share, like Customer 360 is indeed a good example.
Don't build it for everything, because that's too expensive and it does not work, to be honest. And at some point you need to go down to the different, more detailed versions. Because in the aggregated, you typically don't want all the details of all the underlying system that are related. You want this condensed, high quality source of truth. This is I can go with.
No, I fully agree. And a good example in the customer space there is you can build a customer 360, but at some point you might want to see what are all the website interactions that customer made. You cannot store it all the website interactions in the customer 360. You can say like the number of times you visit the website in the last 90 days. Yeah. That can be like a column in your, but you cannot have all the data in that single data product, right? Okay, but so a data product to you is it is the data assets you produce, but also the pipelines that produce it. But then you also talk a lot about data contracts. But if we just defined like what a data product is, and we're trying to evangelize that to the world, like start adopting, embracing data products, why do we need something else? Right? Why make it complex?
Yeah, as again said, data products for me are this box, and this box has different output ports. And the notion of an output port is quite important in that area, because an output port is a data model shared on a specific technology in a specific major version in a specific environment.
Can you break that down? So you mentioned 4 components. Yeah. So can you dive into that?
Yeah, like think you share data on Snowflake. Yeah. You share the, let's say, customer.
Yeah, take that example.
The customer with all the details. Yeah. You have a version 1, like a major version 1 that says this is it, and we can evolve that. We could add columns to it, like non-breaking changes that just evolve with it, but not breaking changes. And you can share it like on prod or on dev or on staging.
What's a breaking change for you?
If you change the name of a column, that would break the client, so to say, the consumer. Or you remove a column, or it could be even more things like changing the content of a column semantically, but then that's more complicated. Just focusing on the small. True. But that's also
And so you say it's a specific data model. So when an output port, according to you, can be also multiple tables. It can be a whole dimensional model with fact tables and dimension tables. All of that is one single output port.
Yes. Okay. Because there's from the governance point of view, there's kind of a Gordon knot you have to solve. Because a lot of things are highly dependent on each other. Like, what is a data product? What is an output port? How do you shop that? And how do you do access management? And everything connects. Yeah. Because in the end, you want to have a marketplace. You can go there, and you can request access to something, and this has to be interlinked.
And what are you exposing on the marketplace? Are you exposing the output ports or the data products?
Both? Like on an elementary level, the output ports. Yeah. Because an output port, as I said, you have different major versions. So I could phase out version 1 and phase in version 2. And so I have a grace period of migrating. So offering the consumers a way of migrating from version 1 to version 2. Yeah. So that's one way. And I could also create an offer the same data on different technologies. I could offer the data on Snowflake and Databricks, or on Snowflake and Kafka. Yeah. In the same major version, because it's basically the same data model. Or I could share like orders data with PII information, like with the customer name. Yeah. But also orders without the customer name. And I don't have to create a new data product. I can just say, well, it's just another output port. Because technically it's built from the same pipeline. I just mask a few tables, or just remove a few tables from in the last part of my pipeline.
Conceptually, it's the same thing, but it's targeted at different audiences, like an audience that can see the PII, an audience that is not allowed to see
and
the
it's
PII.
Much easier sometimes to just say, create a different endpoint, and instead of managing with complex roles and
column level permissions and row level permissions. Yes, then it becomes very complex. I agree. But so that brings us back to a contract. So you say an output port, it is a specific data model with a specific version on a specific technology, and there was a fourth one. I forget.
Environment.
In an DevOps, right? Or whatever. And How does a contract come into that?
Yeah, for us, a contract basically is a one-to-one relation to an output port. It basically gives us guarantees, because an output port by itself is just an endpoint.
Yeah.
I can go there, I can get data, that's fine. But the data contract really gives us guarantees. We say, when you go there, you can expect these two tables in Snowflake, in that Snowflake schema that we have linked here. And in these tables, there are these columns, they have these data types. And this column here, we guarantee you at most 5% null values. And we have the terms and conditions. So you can use the data, but you're not allowed to use it for marketing purposes. Whatever. So all of these things, or SLAs, like what is the data retention, what is the latency, all these things would be guaranteed in the contract.
And so you also enforce it then. So if you don't meet those SLAs, you cannot publish a new version of the output. Or how does it work? I'll ask it as an open question.
There's two ways. One is the observability part. Now we can continuously monitor. We in our product, but also we recommend everybody should do that. Monitor their data, basically the output port, against the contract.
Yeah.
And by definition, the contract is always true, because the contract is the source of truth for metadata. So when the data deviates, the data is wrong.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the observability part.
So linking it back to software, it's a bit like the API of of any kind of service that you offer. The API is the truth.
Basically the API specification.
Yeah.
So we are in the software world, we have the API plus its API specification, and in the data world we kind of have the output port or the data set that we share, and the data contract as the specification that gives us the guarantees.
Got it. And so step one, sorry I was interrupting you, step one is just observability, seeing if you meet the specs, and then there was a step two? Or?
Well, we can inform, of course, if it breaks and react upon that. What you can also do is, because every output port has as I said, I can phase it in, phase it out, so there's a life cycle attached, and I could prevent, if the contract is not met, I can prevent it from maybe from in development to active. So I prevent the progression in the life cycle.
Yeah.
This is something we can do.
And there I wonder, in reality, you have different maturity levels at clients. So a lot of those data products, let's say a source-aligned data product where you take data from the CRM system like Salesforce or whatever, you expose it in a data mesh and other people can consume it. Sometimes, like I know it has happened to us, like the Salesforce systems just change their structure because you can be very dynamic in Salesforce. And it breaks like on the operational system side. And you as the data product owner cannot really... you cannot really prepare for that because it happened outside of your control. And so there I find it sometimes difficult to but then how do you enforce data contracts and versions and stuff like that if what you're getting in from, I'm taking Salesforce as an example, but it can be any source, right? If what you're coming in is not under your control.
That's a huge problem, because in the end what we want to have is this shift left approach. So where the data originates, they also take responsibility of offering that data as a data product with historical data, and they can also handle the history and backfill it, or some changes. But in the end, when things change, either you have a change process, or you can't give guarantees. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing is that we have to make it clear what it is. This is the only thing we can do. There's no silver bullet here. There's no fairy dust that we could use. Just making it transparent helps.
Yeah, so we do have an example at a client where they had some high value data product, forecasting, whatever things that were important to them, but it depended on upstream systems that were quite unreliable, that could change their data all the time and it would break pipelines and stuff. And there was actually a very good case towards leadership to say, look, all of these other systems can break. And we know it's like low quality and some reports might be out of date for 2 days. But if these 3 systems break, one of these 3 systems, well, that important forecasting thing that you want is not forecasting. and that helps them with the shift left approach. Like, okay, so we need end-to-end everybody in the chain needs to be responsible for their part. You cannot just dump data downstream and let them figure it out, right?
Yeah. So that's why data contracts in general are a good idea, because we have to think about what are the guarantees, because in the end we build upon others, like standing on the shoulders of giants in that sense. But there's this famous XKCD comic where everything is built upon the small open source library, and if that would flip, everything would crumble, and sometimes it feels like that, and I find that very sad. Yeah,
the data landscape at most large organizations. No, but it's very true, and by the way, for me, that's another example why the traditional data warehouses typically reach their limits. Because you said you stand on the shoulders of giants, and that's, I think, where the power of data products come from, is multiple teams can develop their own data products, and you can enrich each other. You can reuse from each other, and you can get a lot more, I know it's cliche, but you can get a lot more value from data if there is reuse of data products. Well, if you have a single team doing a single data warehouse, well, there is one big input. Mm-hmm. and one big output, and that's it. But that team it can never enable as much reuse as what you get when you get a good ecosystem of data products, right?
There's a funny story I can share. The most successful data product of one of our large customers is in the logistics domain, is about shipments. And they offer their shipments data. It's a very costly data product. They have their own team that builds that. Because it gathers all the shipment data of all, being it on the road, in air, on the sea. Shipments can be anywhere. It's different systems. You know the drill.
Yeah. It's huge. It's huge.
And they offer that data product with 4 different technologies. So output ports in 4 different technology types. So it's on Snowflake, in AWS S3, Kafka, and as a REST API.
Wow.
And that's extremely successful, because before it's so hard to get to that data, and now it's easy, and you have a technology for everybody. So for the operational systems, just connect to the REST API. For the analytics system, just use Snowflake. And that's really where potential is. But it was a significant investment decision, because this is kind of this shipment 360.
That's a core business, I guess.
Yeah.
But that brings me to, and I have to watch the time a bit, but it brings me to another interesting question now that you mentioned that. You say you also expose an API endpoint as a... so does that mean that, according to you, data mesh and data products work in both operational and analytical use cases?
Yeah, I don't see the differentiation anymore. It's like in my mind, everything is a box with output ports and can connect to input ports to other output ports. And to me, a data product is something that lives on a data platform mostly.
Yeah.
It is built with pipelines.
Yeah.
And then you have applications, but there's no problem in an application having an output port, a Kafka output port, or a SQL-based output port. And it's still an application. It's still a software system, maybe Spring Boot application or built in Java or whatever. And I wouldn't tag it with a data product. I would still say this is a system, and it has an output port that offers data on AWS S3 as JSON.
So you care more about the output ports than about the data products?
Yes. Data product is mostly, in my mind, it's not always often linked to a Git repository where I manage everything that's related to it. It could be that technically it could be a pipeline on Databricks,
or a Spring Boot application.
Or a Spring Boot application running on your Kubernetes cluster.
Yeah, and the output port is the interface.
Yeah, and in the end, it's the API thinking approach. Yeah. You have boxes that have APIs, and these APIs need API specifications. And this is what really resonates, basically from my experience, as also resonates with customers, because then you can implement basically everything.
Yeah,
and it's standing on the shoulders of the software giants, so to say, with the API thinking.
Yeah, which for too long we haven't done in the data world. Like what has been common in the software world for 10 years, we're inventing now, right? Like data contracts, APIs have been there for I don't know how long. It is very common in the software world that you talk to each other to APIs. Of course, you're not going to directly connect to somebody else's database and read its data, but that's the default in a lot of data landscapes, right?
Yeah, true.
Let's switch gears a bit and talk about the data mesh manager. So you're clearly very opinionated and articulated about data products, data contracts. How is this reflected in the product that you're offering?
Well, our product is like a marketplace built around data products and data contracts. So you can you basically go into it as a thin layer above your data platform where everybody meets. And it's like like in a marketplace. Now, everybody is going there. They can share what they offer in terms of data, and others can come and request access and get access to the data.
Yeah.
And the idea is basically you request access to an output port to the specific data, and the data products group around those output ports. They give it a better way to find it, to manage it. But in the end, you request access to data sets others want to share.
And how do you get to this model? Because we discussed earlier, if you ask 5 clients about what is a data product and what is an output port, you get 6 answers. So there must be a lot of arguing and discussions. Well, question about how, like, why did you set it up the way you set it up in the data mesh manager?
In the essence, it's basically based on the consultancy projects that we did, on all the engagements we had and the internal discussion. That's kind of the model that we think is best suited for that approach. So it's kind of opinionated, but validated through consultancy and through our experiences also from the software world. And it's quite flexible. So it works for really a lot of our large clients. They're very happy with it. Because in the end, what others typically fail short is they start with a data product idea, but then they realize, oh, we do have versioning, and then we do have different environments, and then we have different technologies and maybe slightly different data models. So how do we cater for that?
Yeah.
And how do we manage the access requests? And as I think the Gordon knot I mentioned before. So this is for me that how do you solve this Gordon knot in your company?
Yeah.
And you have to do it either way or another. But if you start with a too simplistic model, you realize, oh, where are my change processes around? How do I manage migration from one major version to another? How do I do that?
Yeah. And then if we zoom out a bit, how do you see that market evolving? Because, I mean, as you know, we also have an open source product in that market, like the data product portal. There's others. You also see the big data catalogs jumping on the data product concept now, right? So how do you see that market evolving in the future?
So at this moment, I see that everybody is moving towards that, like being it from the classical data catalog vendors to the data platforms that integrate more and more of that into their own system in their own vendor-specific way. I think what's crucial here is this marketplace is at the center of your transformation.
What do you mean by that?
But data products is basically a huge transformation project in the companies. Now you leave the classical world behind. You have to take all these people with you, and what matters there when you apply the technology adoption model, which is from science, basically saying if you want actual system use, the most important thing is perceived ease of use, and the second most important thing is perceived usefulness.
I like the word perceived in both cases.
Yeah, but perceived ease of use is the most important. It's even more important than perceived usefulness. So the perceived ease of use is the key driver to get people to actually use it, and then you can go and help with that change and that transformation. And putting data products as an afterthought in all of these products is that's not supporting that. This is what I see. So for them, it's very tough to because in the end you have to put the score not somewhere.
Yeah.
And not many people can do that at the moment. And they try, but they always fail short. And it doesn't help you in that overall transformation initiative. This is the struggle I still see.
No, I agree, especially with traditional data catalogs, which, by the way, have their purpose, and I don't think they'll go away. But they often bolt on data product idea and say, look, we also do that. Well, yes, technically you do, but if indeed, I like how you say, like, it's a big change project that you're doing or a transformation program that you're doing about moving from more monolithic thinking to data product thinking. And if that feature is somewhere hidden away in a very large suite of features in a huge data catalog, it might be technically implemented, but if it's not super easy to use, there will be not a lot of adoption of that. Right? So that makes a lot of sense.
Maybe also to add to that, because I had a discussion with a interested client with us, and they also had like already bought a data catalog, technical data catalog, and that had this added feature. There were two things problematic. It had the wrong metaphor. What is a data product was not what they wanted it to be. So it was just a bunch of tables would be marked as a data product, and then that's it.
But that's typical because the data catalog has no notion of your pipelines, of your code. Or
so there was one thing where it's problematic, and the other, what was it? Think about the problem with these classical data catalogs, also with that product, was it was targeted to govern all data.
Yeah.
And that does not work. To be honest, this is something we have to admit at some point. We can't govern all data, but what works is to govern only data that is shared.
Why doesn't it work? I agree with you, to be clear, but I'm curious.
I was confused. Why did you ask? I know.
Are you stupid?
No, that's not what I meant. I was just surprised. That's it.
Okay.
In the end, it's just too much. No, there's basically documentation fatigue. So many things. It's just too much. And focusing on just governing the data that you share. This is basically data products are data that you share. That's a way that helps, but then you have to put all the focus now on the data products and not on and basically shifting all the tools for governing towards that. And this is I've not seen too much in those products yet.
But it relates to you attended the talk I did at Antwerp about having the right level of abstraction. I think individual tables. Scraping all the individual tables you have in your dozens of systems, and then you open a catalog and you say, okay, 10,000 tables. You search customer, 350 tables that have the name customer. It's meaningless. It's like I don't know what to do with that. It's like what action do I take? Like, and even if every table has an owner and has document, which is never the case, by the way, but even if it does, then still, I from a business point of view, this doesn't make sense. Well, I truly believe like the abstraction level of a data product, you get, okay, that data product belongs to a domain. It has a certain owner and it produces data assets or data sets or output ports or whatever. I can reason about that. And I say, okay, so this is coming from the ERP system customer data. And here there's a customer 360 that takes that ERP data and some CRM. So then it makes a lot more sense for a business user to look for data than a raw data catalog. And the answer that they typically, but then you need a governance program that labels and classifies and groups. And I've seen that happen maybe once or twice, that companies have that discipline, but you can never do that for tens of thousands of tables. And so I agree with you, like shopping on a data product level or an output port level of a data product makes a lot more sense. Okay. I think a topic that we must touch, which is hot these days, is AI.
True.
Actually, we don't even have to touch it because you are going to give a keynote speech later today about AI and data products, right? So, but before I ask a question, I'm going to have to preface that with a lot of the clients we see are still in the AI hype phase. It's like AI will solve all our needs. We don't even need software tools anymore because AI agents will solve everything. Some of our, let's say, more mature customers who've already adopted AI about a year ago and done a big transformation phase with AI, they told me recently they're in the post-AI sobering phase, right? So they realize that the value they get from AI, there is some value in like the ChatGPT and the Copilot, and individual contributors or in the individual people at companies can be more productive by having these small tools. But actually, on a company level transformation, the value of AI, of the Gen AI and LLMs and the agents is questionable, while a lot of the what we call by now traditional machine learning systems like simple time series forecasting is still hugely valuable for them, right? So with that preface, how do you look at AI in the context of data products? And if you have AI, if you have agents, do you even need data governance tools? Do you even need a data mesh manager? Right?
Yeah, well, AI is a broad field. So, but still, I think the sobering is mostly because companies invested a huge amount of money. Everybody's just went there and just tried it out basically, and it was not really focused too much. No? There was not really thinking really hard about the use cases where you can apply that. I can share a little bit how we use AI because we were thinking at some part really hard on how to apply it, and for us that really worked quite well. So of course we built our product, the Data Mesh Manager, using tools like Claude Code to speed up our own internal development. We used a little bit like GitHub Copilot before, but things really changed with the agentic systems and being able to let Claude Code run your tests, compile your code, and then have this feedback loop basically.
But for people who are unfamiliar, what is the difference between GitHub Copilot and Claude Code, and why is Claude Code so much better?
Claude Code is great because you can say, please build me that feature. You describe that feature, and then Claude Code will look at your Git project, your source code, and will try to identify how to build it best. Will make a plan, follow that plan, and as part of that plan, it can run your tests. It can create new tests and run those tests and then fix the problems that these tests have identified. It can compile your code. It could start your web application that you write, start it, go to the browser, visit the website and see if it looks the way it should look. And again, in a feedback loop that's constantly evaluated until the agent is satisfied that it has implemented that feature. And that really changed a lot in the coding space because of that feedback loop. So that's one part of the answer. So this is really that I do not see a sobering here. I see huge adoption based on that, and things will become even more integrated. It can connect to the database also, and can check whether the test data is in the database correct, or it could connect to your log system, to your metrics while you develop it. It could. No.
And that's all things that GitHub Copilot can't do?
At the beginning, it was not. It changed a little bit, but the Claude Code was the one that it really introduced that in that sense.
So for developer productivity, you say definitely embrace AI. It's not a hype. It's yes. You definitely
yeah.
And can you also translate that to, because you apply that to you yourself as a software engineer and your company, but can you also say that, like, if I want to build a data product, I do that using dbt or Python or whatever. Can you also share an example of how AI can help you there?
Yeah, it's basically the same.
Yeah,
I don't see any difference. You can also help the AI, basically give instructions and give information on how your data product repository looks like, how it's structured. It can also, sometimes it can identify it yourself, but often it helps to give a few hints there. But again, I don't see these general tools are good enough equipped to build and encode and help you code the stuff you want. That we are already there. I think it will become even better, but we are already there. But that's just this developer productivity part. What I find more interesting is how can we build new features that were not possible before.
Okay.
So in the data mesh manager, we are using LLMs, basically to create features like you can define quality rules in text, and we can transform that to SQL to make them executable. Or
and why is that helpful?
Well, business people can write the text, and then they could even make it executable themselves.
So it's more self-service. You don't need to know SQL.
It enables them to do that. Another feature is when you, so we have policies, governance policies in natural language, basically saying maybe naming conventions or other rules. Maybe you add some rules regarding data sharing. And what we can do, and when you request access in our product, we can evaluate whether my request, for instance, to your data product is valid through AI. We can put all the policies, we can put your data contract where you have limitations in, and I combine it with the purpose I want to use your data for, combine it and ask the AI, hey, is this actually valid? Is this okay? Or do we have rules or policies standing against it? Does it fit the limitations you exposed? And then we can give suggestions for the product owner, for you, to accept or reject my request.
Yeah. So you can do a lot of the, I would say boring work. Like as a product owner, I need to investigate why this person or this use case needs access, and you can already prep a lot of that work with AI. So my task becomes easier.
Yeah. And another thing is when basically you create your data product and your contract, we can automatically monitor them against the policies. So you can just write, a governance person could just write a policy in text, and then we can automatically monitor if the contract and your data product fulfills those policies written in text. And we can do that on every policy change, but on every contract or data product change, and inform you if you violate this policy now.
Yeah.
So, and that was not possible before.
No.
Just with a rule-based system, that was very complicated to set up. Tax-based systems or whatever that were used. And this is really rethinking how we can do things with AI in the product.
Another angle I like to take is coming back to what you said earlier about, now you can just define data quality rules in plain text, and behind the scenes we'll translate it into SQL. So you don't need to know SQL. I think if I zoom out from that, what we see in the market, a big bottleneck in adopting data product thinking is that a data product in the end has some code repository, whether it is DBT or Python or JavaScript, I don't care. But if you want to have data products in the domains, in the different business teams, a lot of them, even though if we wish they were all as technical as you are, they are not, right? So do you also see a trend where you can build data products without the need to be able to write code by using AI, or do you say, no, you still need to be technical at a certain level to be able to create a data product?
To be honest, I don't see it yet, because it's at the end, the end result needs to be quite stable. Data is not too much tolerable for changes, and the interface has to be, and it's very hard to find errors if something was done slightly wrong in data. There can be slight changes, and it's very hard to find them later. So I don't follow that at the moment. Because in the end, you could only do very simple transformations. Can't do really I wouldn't say you can't do really complex transformations in a stable way just using AI. I give you a prompt and then you deploy a data product and that works perfectly and everybody's happy. I'm not sure, but maybe I'm someone can convince me otherwise. So I've never seen that really working well.
But so according to you, things like Claude can accelerate a moderately technical person who knows Git, who knows dbt or whatever, to build a data product, but you can never put it in the hand of let's say a finance person who knows Excel really well, but has no clue what Git is to build their own data products.
At the moment, I do not know a tool that can do that.
Well, me neither, to be clear.
I think what they are perfect to do is, because we talked about data contracts, so they could define what they want. So they could use the data contract like in a contract first approach, define this is what I need, and that could be the input of, okay, I have these other data products, and I use AI to help me implement that and fulfill that. But I'm not sure it's there yet to be perfect, like without human oversight. So at some point you need an engineer to make sure this is crafted well.
But that's actually interesting because I'm getting old. I started Data Minded 11 years ago, and one of our very first clients that was still on Hadoop, and back when the birds could still talk, way back when, there were no notion of data measure data products. But I also had to implement a very complicated use case for a business person who had no technical skills. And the first thing we did that was back in Excel, where I made input and output data. So in Excel, right, if this is the input, this is the output you're expecting. Like without writing the code, is this true? If this is the data that's coming in, this is the data that's coming out. Like a bit of test-driven development, if you will. But that worked really well because as long as we agreed on the Excel, that was basically our interface. Like the business person was happy, like whatever that nerd is doing behind the scenes with Pig, it was like in Spark, you can do whatever you want, as long as the Excel generates. And so I integrated as part of my unit tests to like run those input tabs and then see if the output it generated maps to the output tab, right? And that is basically an approach you say today with data contracts should be relatively easy, that you agree with a business person on this is the kind of output I expect. And then how you implement the data product, it's up to you.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about, we sometimes call it last mile analytics, where I'm an analyst, I'm a finance analyst. I really know my domain really well, but I don't know how to code. So I take the customer 360 that we talked about, or the shipment 360 that you built, but then I'm going to do some last mile analytics in Power BI or in Excel or whatever, and then I publish a result. Is that, according to you, a data product, or is that like, no, I don't want to see it in the systems?
If they share it for others, so if they share the result again as data, then it's a data product. If they just use it, then they're just a consumer.
Which is fine. But it's not a data product.
I would not say. If the data product is for sharing.
Data.
Sharing data.
Yeah. But for building dashboards or reports or whatever,
that's either the person is the consumer, or you could, like in our system, you could define a consumer report, a report as a consumer basically, and you could manage the access specifically for that report if you want to push it that high. But often it's not necessary.
Okay.
But I found it a very interesting thing because you said like the consumer, but the analyst or some business person just wants to get some insight.
Yeah.
This is what I see also AI interfacing with the MCP movement right nowadays. So with MCP, you can connect your AI agent to other systems to load more data or to send some changes, basically to say, well, I want this change in a specific system.
Yeah,
and that's a talk I'm giving to a few hours later, basically. so basically, someone comes with a business question.
Yeah,
who are my top customers? And with MCP integrated with our product, it can search for data products that match my business query, find them, get more details on this data products, including the output ports and the data contract and whether I have access. And if I need access, I can request access. And the AI client can just do that. No additional interference with humans. Just still, who are our top customers? It will find the right data product it will request access, and then it waits because someone has to approve it. And when they approve it, you can try it again. Just continue, basically. Try it again. Check if you have access now. And then it can query the data. And the query is protected by the governance rules.
What do you mean by that?
So whenever we run a query, we also send the purpose. And we know the user and know under which purposes has the user requested access. And we know all the governance rules. And we know the data contract with the limitations. And so we can check before we run the query whether the query is in line with all the other governance systems in place.
Yeah.
And then we can also prevent the query from being executed.
And all of that is implemented in an MCP server?
In combination with the data mesh manager, yeah.
Okay, got
which
it.
has its own LLM for making the governance checks. So it's a combination, basically.
And if you do that, what is the benefit to the user?
Well, you don't have to leave Claude. You can just
but it's again to accelerate instead of going to the UI of Data Mesh Manager and I search around and I click and request access and click again.
You just put in who are our top customers in general, or who are our top new customers this month, and you just get the answer in your after a little bit of time. No, it makes a plan. It follows that plan. It makes these API calls basically. Make sure it has access, that runs the query, and then you get your result. Yeah. And you don't need. You can just do it. And then if you're not satisfied with the answer, you can iterate on that.
And so, do you think those MCP servers will replace user interfaces in the end?
In combination with the AI agents, yes, I would. I would think that will have a tremendous effect at some point on how we interact with these systems, because you can combine them as well. If you want to say, okay, now for these customers, I want to put them in my marketing tool, and I add the marketing tool as an MCP server as well. My AI can do the bridging.
Yeah.
And this feels so powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that will be hugely adopted. So this is where I don't see the sobering of AI, to be honest, because with MCP, there's so much potential.
Yeah.
We have the security we have to get right. It's not easy, but there's so much potential there that I can see. Yeah.
It brings me a bit to my last question. So we asked it to all our guests. You're in data now. You're coming from the software world. What is something you know about data? Something you know today that you didn't know when you started your data journey?
Mm-hmm. So I'm coming from the software world, and the software world APIs are everywhere. Open APIs everywhere. Async APIs now everywhere. And I entered the data world, and there was nothing comparable. And when you look at Open API was introduced like 15 years ago, and now it's everywhere. And data contracts is a similar thing now for the data world, but that was kind of introduced last year. But I think everything will be much faster because of the need of that, because of AI driving it quite large. So this is kind of my prophecy to end this a little bit. So I think in 5 years, data contracts will be everywhere, as Open API is in the software engineering world.
It will be, how do you say, something that goes without saying that you use data contracts. Just like it goes without saying that you
every REST API has an Open API specification.
Yeah.
And the same will be for the data world.
All right. Simon, with that, I would like to thank you for coming on the podcast. I wish you good luck with the talk later today. I'll be there in the audience cheering you on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.